Joey Sturgis. How's it going, man?
Good.
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Not bad, man. How is London for you?
I love it so far. It's
Yeah?
my first time here. I actually made a pact with myself a long time ago in relation to traveling. I said, I don't want to go to all these countries unless I have a purpose to go there.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to just be a tourist. And so the opportunity came up for us to come out to London for an actual purpose. Like beyond this, we're here with Unstoppable Recording Machine, otherwise known as URM Academy. And it's the place online where we, teach metal and rock producers how to mix music and all that kind of good stuff. And so we're actually here with our company to do a Nail the Mix session with Russ Russell.
Yeah.
Out in Oxfordshire.
I think I saw the update that you have updated, right? I mean, the one of the most important stuff that I want to talk about today is a lot of people already talk to you about your production history, but I think today I want to more focus about the entrepreneurship, the entrepreneurship side, because I believe a lot of people, especially even when we try to tell the story about Noisesharks, a lot of people are scared of the music space for some reason, right? And I think you're one of the people that I because of the similar genre, follow closely and see that you're actually succeeding in being in a music entrepreneurship. So how about if you can summarize everything that you've done as a producer, and then we can start with the idea of the first company. Yeah, so from what I know is you just quit you started at a garage, right?
Yeah, so basically I was a young kid in my town. I played drums. I was like one of the best drummers, according to everyone else, not according to myself. And so even when I was like 9 years old, I played drums in a band of 20 and 30-year-olds. Okay. So I was used to just always being surrounded by older musicians and stuff, and sort of got a really early start. I was playing drums when I was 9 years old, like I said. So that naturally translated into basically the band that I was playing with. They had like a little practice space, and it was in this garage. And whenever I wasn't playing with the band or wasn't in school, I was like a night owl. So I would stay up till 6, 7 in the morning, like every day. Unless I had school, of course, but like in the summer, all that kind of stuff. So I asked my friend, I was like, hey, when you're at work really early in the morning and I'm still up, can I like come in here and mess around?
Right.
And he's like, sure, so here's a key. So give me a key to the place. I start going in there at night and opening up projects. They just had projects on the hard drive there.
Oh, okay. Was it projects that they were
recording? Okay. Yeah, he basically had a makeshift. It was one of the very first home recording setups. I mean, we were using
what did you have there?
There was an Aardvark Q10.
Okay. Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, like a PCI card that goes in with a serial cable.
Yeah,
that
very
comes
vintage stuff.
Yeah. And then they had like a Behringer mixer and some of the very basic microphones and all that stuff. And I was mostly focused at first on just mixing, because I would open the session and play around with it.
It's already produced, so you just was it Cubase or?
Yeah, it was Cubase.
All right.
Cubase 3 SX Pro, I think.
Yeah.
If that sounds right. So long story short, I basically did that for years, just kind of going in there at night, playing around with sessions, and then got the opportunity to actually record a band. And the reason why is that I started to dabble in recording myself, and I had my own band because I quit the one band that I was in, but I was still going into the garage and working through there. And I started my own band, and then I finally got the courage up enough to record our first demo. Okay. And so I recorded it myself, I mixed it myself, and we put it on MySpace. And the idea was that we wanted to go play shows. So we're like, well, how can we play shows? We got to show people what we sound like.
Right.
So we did that.
MySpace era?
Yeah, MySpace era, back when you could send a bulletin board.
Right.
Send a bulletin and everyone would see it. So we did that, and people freaked out. They were like, whoa, where did you record this? How did you make this?
All right.
And
do you remember roughly what number was that mix for you? Was it the 5th mix, the 6th mix? 6th mix?
It was actually my first mix.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't put much thought into it, really.
Wow.
I just kind of made it and was like, all right, here you go.
This is real talent, man. So from your first mix, you actually blew people's mind off.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And so a band hit us up on MySpace and said, we want to record with you. We don't care how or what it takes. Just let's make it happen. So I go and ask my friend, hey, can I use the garage to have these random stranger bands come over here and record?
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, cool, but just give me like 10%. So I did that for a long time. And then eventually they gave me a rent. So they did like $500 a month.
Oh, okay.
And so what I was doing is I would charge, maybe $500 a song or something like that. And a band would come in and do a song. And I'd have my rent paid for the whole month. Right. And I was sleeping on the couch and, just...
So you record one band, that band paid for the rent, and then you do more recording and everything's for your pocket. And that is no commission, no nothing.
Right.
That's good.
And I did that all the way to like, with Roots Above and Branches Below, I think even.
Right.
So a lot of those records were made back in that time, in that garage, in that very simplistic space where, I don't think even the walls were treated properly. There was...
So was this like early 2000s?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, from there, basically the people I was renting the garage from, they said, well, we would like to have our garage back. We want to use it for this. Yeah. So what we're going to do for you is just say you don't have to pay rent. And I was like, well, I mean, that's very nice, but I just have records to do.
All right. Okay.
So I want to pay rent. I'll pay you more rent. And they're like,
anything to keep me here, yeah?
Yeah. They said no. So I told my manager about this, and my manager at the time was Craig Erickson. He owned Rise Records. So I was like, hey, this is what's happening. I know we have all these records that we need to do. What do you suggest? Like, what do we do? And he's like, I'll buy you a house.
Wow.
So he wrote me a check for $80,000. Okay. I went and found a house. I bought it. I moved in immediately and started recording bands in there.
And this is obviously based on the fact that you've been really successful. Otherwise, you wouldn't. Right. So to get some deal like this, you need to earn enough trust by your talent, right? So you proved yourself. You've been producing a lot. You've been like nailing it, And then when you asked that question, he was like very easy on it.
Yeah, I mean, the work speaks for itself. That's the one...
Action speaks louder. Right?
Yeah, that's the one big advice I can give anyone, is make your product so outstanding that nobody can talk crap on it. That's like the most important thing. And the experience as well. I gave bands an experience. Now, maybe not the best experience because we were in a garage and we were sort of, there was no bathroom in the garage and those kinds of things. So it was kind of a crazy time.
That's the best experience.
But the bands liked it. They kind of dug the idea of it, and so we did that as long as we could until we outgrew it. But giving them that experience, having a really, really good product is like gonna take you so far. There's really nothing. There's no magic trick. Just have a good product.
Right, and then is this? And then you met the Developer Prada or before?
No, I made some of their albums in that garage.
Okay.
Yeah. So then we did. With Roots Above and Branches Below in the house. Actually, that record, I think we did half and half. Like half of it was in the garage and half of it was in the house. And if you go and listen back on those records, like listen to Plagues and then listen to With Roots Above and Branches Below, you'll hear a massive sound difference. Really? And the reason why is because in the garage, I was mixing in a space that was kind of like really narrow like this. And I would sit here, and so the speakers were like right here, and they would bounce off the walls like right behind me.
Right.
So it was like a 5-foot space, and so everything I was doing just sounded like crap, like in that space. But then when I moved to the house,
it sounds more tighter.
I got so much more space, and I got better speakers, and like a lot of things happened all at once, and that's why there's such a giant sound.
Such a jump in sound. Right. And then how did that transfer to like entrepreneurship?
Okay, so basically I did that. I made records for a really, really long time, like a 10-year span. And what ended up happening is things started to shift towards the end of that 10 years. Record budgets started to get cheaper. Bands started to want more things. Like I was used to a band coming in the studio and saying, we're going to do everything with you. All the songs, all the pre-pro, all the songwriting, we're going to record,
to finish, that's it.
Edit, mix, master, the whole package in one thing. And then some people be, well, we want you to mix it, but we don't want you to do this, or we want you to do 5 songs, we don't.
Why did this start, you think?
I think it was just, these bands were making a lot of money, and I didn't realize it at the time.
Okay.
I never put 2 and 2 together to think like, oh, you're selling 200,000 records. That's like $2 million. You know, I wasn't thinking
Right.
that way.
Okay.
I was just like, oh, this is great. You know, we're
Making
selling
it-
records and
Right.
having a good time. But
So do you think people then, of a successful band, wanted to choose more kind of a special person for a special task, for example, than having the full experience with one engineer?
yeah, you know, I think as a band, especially when you're successful and you make money, you kind of want to see what if the grass is greener on the other side, so to speak. So
Okay.
a lot of bands working with me, doing every record with me, and they're kind of like, wait, what else is there? What else is out there?
Okay.
So I think that started to come into play.
Which I think is fair enough, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you can go look at other interviews I've done. I've always said the band is the ultimate decider. Like they're the ones that make the decisions, and so if it's their record, you know,
Right.
I'm just a facilitator. I'm the person that takes your vision and turns it into a product. So if I'm not the right person for that job, that's fine. You know, there's a lot of producers out there. So yeah, I guess the transition was all that stuff happening, record budgets getting lower because people were paying less for music, streaming started to rise up, all those things kind of happening together. And I was like, I need to use my talents. Like I have so many talents. I know how to program. I have a passion for, computers, all these different
You
things.
felt like you were still didn't feel fulfill kind of full potential.
Yeah, I felt like I was using 20% of my total capacity.
I see.
So I talked to my manager and I was like, look, I'm going to, start doing these other things. I'm going to start a software company. I want to make plugins. Like I want to do this, I want to do that. And he's like, well, that's going to cut into your time. And,
All right,
and
okay.
I'm your manager, so I want you obviously making as many records as possible because
Absolutely.
he makes commission on that. And nothing against him. I mean, I love Craig and always will. He did a lot of things for me. I did a lot of things for him. So it was a mutual split. It was kind of like, okay, I'm going to go on this entrepreneurial path, and you are going to continue growing your label, and we'll just kind of go our separate ways. And
Okay.
it was fine.
And where did you think that this is going to be the first product? Because I think I remember I heard one time that people start wanting samples from Asking Alexandria or something, and then you were like, why don't I just put them in one place or something like that?
Well, the very first thing that happened was I was making these albums, and when I made an album, I sort of approached it from an obsessive compulsive disorder point of view. Like I was just obsessed about everything.
Yeah.
So like I would build an entire drum instrument just so that if there was a missing drum hit, that I could just
You can do
place it in there. So I had all this stuff on my hard drive, and I'm like, this can't go to waste. Like I put all this time and effort into making this drum instrument.
Then if the song is gone, that's it. All the files are gonna go away. I mean,
Yeah. So I started putting those on a little e-commerce store that I made. I logged into
was it JST?
it was before that. It was joeysturgisdrums.com.
Okay.
And I actually used something called eCart, which was written in PHP. So I was custom building this sort of PHP store on my server and twisting it and making it do all these things it wasn't designed to do.
Wow.
Because I immediately started thinking, oh, well, I could be like iTunes. I could be the one-stop shop for drum samples. So then I would make deals with people, and they would put their drum samples on my store, and then I would pay them a royalty. And I started doing all this stuff very early on. And then that transitioned naturally into many more people following me and saying, oh, how'd you get that guitar tone, or how'd you get that vocal sound? And so I started putting together presets, and then that's when Joey Sturgis Tones came about.
I see. Okay, so the JSC actually was a preset at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, right. And then it was just sample impulse responses, I think, and all stuff like
Pod
that.
farm presets, impulse responses.
Are we talking like 2010 here?
This is like 2013.
Okay.
So 2009 is when I launched Joey Sturgis Drums.
Okay.
And I did that for 4 years, and then I launched Joey Sturgis Tones
Right.
in 2013. And it was originally just supposed to be like, I'll make a record, and then I'll take all the presets from the record and give them new names and put them up on the store. And
okay. So you took, for example, let's say the single final episode, and you renamed it, for example, for the drum hits and stuff like that.
yeah,
Ah, right. Okay. And do you still follow this? For example, I've seen Guilty Pleasure, I think.
A lot of people
Is
think
this
that
Attila?
has something to do with Attila, but it
No?
doesn't.
Oh, really? What about Hellraiser?
I don't know. I just like catchy names.
It is a catchy name, yeah.
And,
Hellraiser.
Yeah, so I just try and, I don't know, I just come up with names. It has nothing to do with anything. Sometimes
right.
there's some cheeky stuff in there just for fun.
Right, right. I think when I saw Guilty Pleasure, I was like, it's that tone, man. That's it.
And sometimes it could be. I can't remember exactly which one goes with which. Some of those are pretty old. I know. I think the Hellraiser tone, the first original Hellraiser tone, was actually based on Attila.
Okay.
But then the
It was a
second
guitar tone.
yeah, the second one was something else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. I mean, this is the thing. If I mean, for example, when I saw the Hellraiser tone or the Guilty Pleasure tone, I was like, I want to see actually if it sounds the same, and it actually sounds really similar to me, you know. And I was like, this is really good that you can actually listen to a song that you love, you know, and then or to a record that you love, and you can actually kind of get the same tone, you know what I mean, from the actual guy that did it, you know. It's not like a rip off or a copy version.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I find that really. It has a sharing value, you know, that, and I think before you start doing that, do you think anybody's was doing it before? I'm not sure. I mean, the actual thing that you take like, let's say an influence song or an influence record, and you actually provide it to people like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was definitely one of the first, if not the only, you know. And nowadays there's everything and anything in between, but I do like to think that I was sort of one of the first to put that into play. And I mean, to me, it just made sense. It was a very organic thing. It was like, I've got this, you know, I can't think of how big it is. Let's just say I got this 1 gigabyte file on my computer just sitting there, and I could be making money with it.
That's
right?
it. Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, and this is actually one of the stuff that is very good about what we're doing now. Is I remember one time you were really assertive on Facebook and telling people that you should actually zoom into the music industry because there's a lot of opportunities there.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think, and there when I saw this, I was like, this is really true. You know, a lot of people, you know, might just like not realize how much if you zoom in and pick a niche, you know, you can actually excel at that.
Yeah.
You know, and this is the kind of message that I try to tell everybody in any industry, but especially in the music industry. First of all, a lot of people get, as I've talked before, a lot of people get scared from that industry for some reason.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I just think people might find a problem and not just try to solve it for some reason. I mean, and you know, what do you have to say about this? I mean, what I would say is just like, if you found a problem, you have an idea about solving it, you know, maybe go more in deep about it and see what's going on. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of people who look at it from a traditional perspective. It's like, I'm going to go to recording school, I'm going to learn how to do audio, and then I'm going to start my own studio. And that's all the very fine and well, but it's an outdated way of thinking because the music industry is changing at a rapid pace. And so you got to look at where there's other opportunities. One of which I've been talking about recently is, you know, there's a lot of people on YouTube now that, you know, make their own music, they entertain people, they have their own vlog, they have all these different like facets to their own individual business, and they need mixing engineers and producers and things
Most
like that.
definitely,
too.
abundance, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like trying to think outside the box in terms of, you know, some of the opportunities that are out there as an audio person or a music entrepreneur. There's really you could help a software company. You know, maybe they have a part of their software has something to do with audio. You could come in and step in and be the expert in that startup or in that company.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little things like that. The Grammys, a lot of people don't know this, but they just went online with voting.
All right.
So, you know, that was another opportunity where somebody had to come in and literally create an entire system from scratch to
actually start
to
doing
facilitate the voting. And
Yeah.
so, you know, if you're a voter, you want to listen to the song. So there's going to be an audio component, and you got to deal with all the music rights with that. And, you know, so there's a lot of things interesting out there. I think there's no better time than now.
Definitely, especially with the connections, and let's say you want to build a team. I I mean, that team doesn't have all to be local. You know what I mean? Like you found I don't know, you found a problem, for example, somehow, and you were like, okay, I know this engineer that I used to study with, you know, and you can actually start something from, you know, I mean, at the start, at least at the beginning, you know, at distance, maybe, and then if you start to get profit or something, maybe get together or something like that. Isn't this what you've done with Eyal and Joel, or not really? I mean,
Yeah. So the way that came about, you're talking about Unstoppable Recording Machine,
Yeah.
right? So I had been doing Joey Sturgis Tones for a while, and Joey Sturgis Drums was still there too. And basically what happened was Eyal reached out to me and was like, I've got this idea. I want to start a school that teaches people how to do like audio production. And originally it was going to be a physical school.
oh, okay.
Yeah. And, you know, so the way that we facilitated that is we were doing these boot camps. So we had like 12 to 14 people fly in from all different countries and go to his studio, and I would fly in too. And we'd give them a crash course on audio production for like 3 or 4 days. And those went really successful.
This is without Joel yet.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then he was like, we should do, well, basically what happened was we would get on the phone and we'd be talking about all this different stuff, like all the stuff that happens in the studios, like all the, you know, the red tape with the labels and all this stuff that we had been going through in our entrepreneurial lives. And I was like, man, this should be like recorded. Like we should,
Right.
this would be a podcast. This could be a really good podcast. So we decided to just basically take our conversations that we were already having on the phone and just start doing them in a podcast format. And we thought that would grow to be this big thing, and we would get these big podcast sponsorships. Well, it didn't turn out exactly how we had hoped. Basically, after 12 months of doing it, we had about 250 subscribers paying us $5 a month.
Okay.
So, and for 3 grown men, this was not.
This is nothing. Yeah.
This is not going to work. But that I brought Joel in to complete the podcast, so we had like a 3-angle thing. So we basically sat down and was like, what can we do? How can we pivot from here? And we basically came up with what is now known as Nail the Mix. We were like, what if we could do kind of what we used to do on Creative Live, but like sort of what we do on the podcast, but at the same time, like do this whole new like streaming thing. So we came up with the whole idea, the whole concept, and we launched it to our podcast community and gave it to them for free. And we were like, all right, if you liked that, we're going to do it again next month, but now you're going to have to pay for it.
Exactly.
And it's going to be $19.99 a month.
So you found market fit first. It was fit, and then you started saying, for example, all right, well, if we need more, I mean, this what you just said is very inspirational, because there's 2 aspects for it. The first one is just start. You know, like when first of all you were Eyal told you about this. You started anyway, right?
Yeah.
And then this is where the second part comes, is that you never know what's coming down the line, right? I mean, when you just start, you might come up with something else, right? I mean, even what you just said before. I mean, you started JSC as samples, and then it went to plugins. Or actually, your whole career, you started as an audio professional, and then you went to like designing products for audio professionals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, and I think the message here is literally start. If you think you've got like something, start, because you never know how you're going to improve it, what's going to come, right?
Absolutely.
And this is a very good example of this. I mean, this is like literally live. I mean, a lot of audio professionals, especially in the rock industry, is trying to expand, I think, right? Most of my friends, even here in London, they tune to Nail the Mix, and it wouldn't have become what it is if you haven't started. You know, if you told Eyal, I'm not sure, man, you know, like this is physical, whatever, you know. And then, but the one of the other ideas, you actually like got inspired by, you know, Creative Live, the whole system, and you found like a way to kind of innovatively do it, because it's not about, you cannot just combine every ideas and it will be done. You know what I mean? You need to be innovative about how you can kind of go about it. You know, and I think what you've done here is literally a living proof that this is successful. But one of the stuff that I think is confusing is your company structures. Mm-hmm. So what's the holding company? What's the subsidiary? What's going on? You know, there's URM, there's Nail the Mix, there's the Spotify thing. Yeah. Bandit, what's going on?
It's quite complex. It's basically just me and all my friends, we have different businesses together.
Okay.
And there's all different kinds of ownership setups and things like that. So none of it is like a conglomerate. It's all just separate modules,
projects.
Yeah,
yes,
projects.
alright. And then legally, does this go under URM, or does it have like is there like a legal, for example, like let's say somebody wanted to invest, for example, can they like invest in Nail the Mix, or say they have to invest in URM, for example?
Yeah, URM is Nail the Mix is actually a product.
Okay, so it's a product from the company URM.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and what about like, Band Academy?
Yeah, Band Academy is a company, and then our program is just called Band Academy. It's like the same. The program has the same name as the company.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah, that's fine. That's it's like Spotify, you know.
Right. Yeah.
And you've got, actually, speaking of Spotify, the Spotify
playlist challenge.
I've read amazing testimonials, man. You've helped a lot of bands.
Yeah, so that's our second product. We started with the Band Academy program, and that's still, you can still sign up for that, enroll for that. It's a year-long program for musicians to basically learn how to take their band to the next level, start taking it seriously, making money from your music, how to grow, how to start your own publishing company, how to get on tour. We teach you all those things in that program.
And are you planning, not say this, but are you planning to expand to like Tidal and stuff like that? Or?
Not really. I think we really have no place in terms of music distribution. That's not really our goal. We also don't want to own any of our students. And I know, like, a lot of times we'll describe being Band Academy as an incubator for musicians, but people get that confused with a traditional incubator, which then will take percentage. Yeah, but we don't do that. So, it's really just, we want to help you through online coaching and
kind of like a graduation kind of program.
Yeah,
you graduate to a certain level, or a milestone program or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. And okay, so you're not gonna go to the Tidal space.
No.
So this is the thing. I mean, this is, for example, another thing that somebody might be like, for example, there's a problem here, I might solve. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is why I still think when you zoom in the music industry or in any industry, you can find problems that you can still solve.
Yeah, that's all business is. It's problem solving, and the problem we want to solve at URM is to basically, create the best place online for the next generation of audio producers to, take their careers to the next level and run their own studio or do their own production business, whatever that may be.
Right.
And Band Academy is the same sort of mission, but for musicians. We want to help people take their music more seriously, and that's the problem that we aim to solve there. And there's so many musicians that just are doing everything wrong. Social media wrong. They're advertising wrong. They're marketing themselves wrong. They're releasing their music wrong.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the problem that we saw, and we naturally was like, oh, we could solve that.
Exactly. And do you think they're because it's because they're being influenced by older generation bands, so they're doing the same thing, and you want to prove to them that there is a place for it in the modern world? Is it something like that?
It's that, and it's also a combination of people seeing the light or not seeing the light. Okay. I guess I should say. It's like if you could be, let's say, if I could get you playing arena shows in Japan tomorrow, and you're like, okay, well, what do I have to do? I'm like, I don't know, play Star Wars music, because have you seen Galactic Empire? The Galactic Empire is a band that plays metal Star Wars covers, and they sell out arenas in Japan.
Wow.
Okay. Now, do you think they would have gotten there if they would have been like, no, it has to be our own music?
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I say to musicians all the time, like, look, just be happy that you're playing music for a living, or that you could be playing music for a living, and don't stress too much over how you're doing it, how you're getting there.
Exactly. How do you think young musicians then can support themselves by the time they for example achieve success? Because a lot of the bands that, for example, I know like personally is they actually still have like work on the side, where I think back in the old days a lot of people went hardcore and then just stopped working, and they went. I think people are going a little bit more safe now. Do you think this will fit to our kind of time right now, or do you think people are getting a little bit more safe and they shouldn't do it?
You just got to be open-minded. I think that's the most important thing. And if I had not been open-minded, I wouldn't have recorded Attack, for example.
Oh, okay,
I didn't want to do that band. But my manager was like, trust me, this is going to be good for you.
It was known for crapcore, right?
Yeah, but look, it was literally one of the highest selling albums on Rise Records, like, ever.
Wow.
And so I'm really glad that I did that. And all the things that unfolded from there. Johnny Frank started his own project, March Ahead, and I produced that. And then Caleb and went off and did his own thing, and now he's a very successful producer. He produces his own albums. And where do you think he learned, you know, a lot of that initial production techniques? It was from me, and making those Attack Attack albums.
Right.
So it's really like, I just say go into it with an open mind and don't try to be too stubborn, because there are a lot of people that are doing that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, this is why, you know, products like Band Academy, or, you know, the Spotify boost they're doing, which is what Band Academy kind of
It's
does.
it's separate products.
Separate, all right. This is why we need it this time, because a lot of people are lost, and I think, you know, when they get to a course like this, we'll teach them to be open minded about stuff like, you know, like the Star Wars cover and stuff. Yeah, this is the thing. I mean, I think find a niche, start. You know, and for example, one of the I would call it a blue ocean that you created, right? Is with the JSC, is that you actually didn't want to go to the like, oh, I want to perfect like the copying of this sound. You actually went, no, I want to create a knob that says, you know, crank, you know, or you know, like very simple,
Right.
kind of like, okay, you want to, maybe this is actually good for bands because they want to make their demo sounds really good, or sounds really like studio ready, or all of that stuff, and then you give them these tools where it's really simple. They don't have to, okay, I'm gonna emulate like the SSL or whatever. No, this is just
the thing that is interesting about that is there are people now coming up, they're growing up in a world where they don't even know what an 1176 is.
Oh, right.
Because they don't know where one is, they never heard one, they never touched one.
Seen one yet.
And I know this because and I'll say this now, like back then I would never say this because I wanted to always look like I knew what I was doing.
All right.
One of the very first times I ever went into a big studio, they were like, Mr. Sturgis, what do you want for your vocal chain? And I was like, well, I want a Newman 47, U47, and 1176. And I only knew that because I just had seen it online. And so they brought it out and they hooked it all up and they're like, all right, ready to go. And I like had no idea how to turn the knobs and what to do. So I was literally just like messing with it, like, oh, I hope this sounds good. And so if that's happening to me and I have great success, imagine what's happening to everyone else out there.
Most definitely.
So that's why I approached the plugins from a completely different.
Which actually, again, I gave you the blue ocean you're in right now, because not everybody, but most of the people, you know, like big brands that we both know, you know, trying kind of to perfect that sound, which is, there's nothing wrong about that, right? But that's their thing. What you're saying, okay, no, I want something that's very easy interface, you know, very easy for you to understand. You know, one mouse spin, one click of a button, you get the sound that you're trying to get. And this is displayed in like Toneforge, Drumforge, the gain, everything. And now I think, what's your latest plugin? Do you have something for Joel? That's what I've seen.
We have the Joel Wanasek Bus Glue series. It's like 6 different modular compressors that you can put on your instrument buses. So you have all your drums routed to a bus called your drum bus. Do the same thing for your bass, your guitars, your vocals, your keys, and then the mix bus. Right. And so you put that plugin on the end of those buses, and it will glue them all together. So it's like it's literally like a mixing tool to glue your mix together. So
you've got the first JSC plugins within the track, and you've got on the bus you put the Joel ones.
Yeah.
And then you've got the you've done Billy Decker, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's
the same thing. Bus Glue, you know, his take on it. His mixing style, and built for country music, but also works for rock.
But look, you still actually consistently build it in a way that's simple.
Yeah.
Right. So you're not actually drifting off. Right. You're still in your thing, which is actually what makes, I think, the plugin successful. And from a business model, this is what I try to say is that, you know, you found something, right? Just like the JSC, you found something. You know, try to find a way where. It's competing, but at the same time it's out of the competition.
Yeah. You know, find the needs. For anyone that's watching this out there, you know, what are your local needs? What are the needs that you see online? I currently see, like I said earlier, the YouTube. That's a big need. You know, because I see YouTube channels that sound bad. Right. So why not, you know, message that person and be like, hey man, I'm an audio producer. I'm trying to like, you know, get into audio production. I have a couple songs to show for my work, but I promise you that I'll like kill myself for you, and I'll make I'll make that stuff sound
Hustle,
better.
basically. Yeah.
Right, and it's like, who's going to say no to that?
Clients, you know, yeah.
And what happens when that person gets like 3 or 4 million subscribers, and all of a sudden you guys are like making one of the best channels out there? You know?
Yeah, you can either dedicate it for one person, or you can actually do it where maybe you'll try to nail like 20 clients, you know, and this becomes your thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and people, you know, YouTuber friends will hire you the same. You know what I mean? I think that's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, stuff like this, man. I mean, just finding the niche and growing, make your own category kind of thing. You know, like if I'm gonna categorize JSC, it'll be like the easy to use killer sound plugins. That's the category. You know, if you want, you know, if you're really, you know, like you want something, I don't know, like
it's not for everybody.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, and it doesn't have to be. You know what I mean? It's for the people that want it. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool. I mean, I think the a little bit off topic. One of the best kind of blue oceans that I see out there is Red Bull. Actually, they wanted to compete in the drinking industry, so they created their own category, energy drink. Now you go to the fridge, and it's actually there's a different category you have to compete with right now, which is with energy drinks, right?
Yeah, and combined with alcohol too, which is huge. I mean, that's kind of, they got what they wanted. You know, they got the vodka Red Bull's a very popular drink.
Yeah. This is the thing. I mean, they got into cocktails as well, so they got into energy drink and into spirits. I mean, this is the power of risking, because I think if you don't risk, it is a risk.
Everything, yeah. So anything that's worth, this is something I've learned in life, is anything that's worth having or worth doing is going to have some risk involved.
Definitely.
Because if not, it just wouldn't be worth it. I mean, it's like, look at, I don't know, look at sports, look at, you know, any other massive industry. It's like, you've got to dedicate your life because there's somebody else that will do just a little bit more than you. And that's why it is so competitive. It's like, you know, for all the people who say, well, you know, I'm going to work from Monday to Friday and I'll take Saturday and Sunday off. Well, there's somebody else out there who won't take Saturday and Sunday off, and they're going to get ahead of you because of that.
That's because this is the thing. If you start at the same time, but one of you, even if you have more capital, by the way, if one of you is working extra hard, this guy is like taking a day off or whatever, this guy's going to catch up sooner or later, because this guy's going to, you know, not work as much, not reach as many resources, not reach as customer loyalties, cannot be bothered at basically maybe replying to customers or so that's true. I mean, full hustle, you know, is always better than, and this is why competition is amazing, because no matter how big you are, right? I mean, if somebody can hustle enough, you know, they can reach out to you. This is why I think big companies should be not afraid, but, you know, stay on the lookout for smaller companies, you know, because one day there was iTunes, and then the second day there was Spotify, right? And iTunes were laughing on Spotify again, and then there was Spotify. Now there's Tidal. You know what I mean? So there is always room as much as basically you put your work into it. And this is something I 100% see in JSC and everything, URM, and your company structure that I still don't get. But every product you release, I mean, I can see like dedication. This, I think, what makes you basically different than most of the other, I would say, music entrepreneurs that I know.
Thanks, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, truly, and this is not just for me. I've got, you know, a lot of, like, especially because Noisesharks is a music company, so I've got a lot of like the people that I know, or like say web developers and stuff. They know JSC, and this is the thing that we say, that you've developed your own kind of blue ocean, which is one of my favorite strategies of all time. I've said it like 16 times now, and you excelled in it. Yeah, you nailed it. So how would you pick team members to do that? You've got El, you've got Joel, but for example, I think one there was a period of time where we got Finn. Is that true?
Yeah, Finn's our director of marketing.
He's still
at URM Academy.
That's that. He did also marketing for
Creative
Lives. Mm-hmm. And so how for example did you
so the opportunity came up where he was in a position at work where he had to make a choice, and we had been growing our company on our own. So we were doing all the marketing ourselves. We were learning as we were going. Yeah. I think it's crazy because I can't even remember. I'm pretty sure I was running all the ads. So he actually does the ads now.
Okay.
Thank God. Not this side.
Ads is very exhausting.
Yeah. So anyway, it just was a thing where it was just like, well, I like what you guys are doing. I have this sort of choice to make it work. Like, let's talk about it.
And he does funnels and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So he came in and we kind of just made a strategy together, and then they've been sort of modifying it as we go. And so
Did he market Creative Live as well?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, he was a director of music over there. So Creative Live is very eclectic, like crafting, like sewing. They have like business classes. They have so music was a very small portion of what they were doing. And
but then I started seeing like courses that I cannot even keep up with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think AL has like 6 or something.
Right. Yeah.
So you've got him on the team. He's doing the marketing. And you've got you said AL has like for example different ownership and different stuff.
Yeah, so we just have a bunch, like basically we're all friends and we all have different companies together. So, I'm the co-founder of Drumforge, co-founder of Band Academy, founder of JST and JSD, but those are one company. And then a co-founder of, did I say Band Academy already? Yeah. Drumforge, and URM.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's basically it's a mutual understanding. We all understand, it's like, we each give an equal amount of energy, of thought, and value to each company that we do, and all of that is distributed equally as well. So, there's no situations where anyone's unequal.
Okay. And do you, for example, think like you're good at this, you're good at this, you're good at this?
Yeah,
you're an extrovert, you're an introvert,
exactly. That's actually the most important thing, because you started this whole conversation with the word team. And that is the most important part of building a team, is recognizing that a person who's an introvert is not going to be good at A&R, because A&R people need to be extroverts.
Most definitely.
Like that's just one example, right? One example. So if you really understand the 16 personality types and that whole thing and how that works, that system, you will make way better hires than anyone else, because you will be like, oh, I need a personal assistant, but you're actually not really good for that job because you're not very organized. So I'm going to put you over here because I think that's going to play to your strengths better. And so if you let everything play to everyone's strengths, then you will build
an amazing team.
Yeah, you'll build the most badass team.
That's it. I mean, and especially when you have actually that level of understanding where there's like no control freaks, you know what I mean? As you said, like everybody in the team is like understanding, everybody knows their stuff, it keeps it healthy inside, it keeps it culture.
One of the best things I could ever say to anyone that wants to be a leader is to go out and find people that are smarter than you, better than you, faster than you.
Most definitely.
Because I want to be the dumbest person in the room, right?
Because if you're surrounded by this smarter people, your product is going to excel through the roof.
Yeah, and it's a Mark Cuban thing, but I really think that is the better way of thinking about the whole process of building a company. It's like go out and find people and support them and give them what they need to be rock stars in their own right.
Most definitely.
And then they're going to be that rock star for you. Yeah. And it's all for the greater good, of the company and for the mission that you have as a company. What problem are you trying to solve? If you go out and get those people and set them up so that they excel, then you'll accomplish your mission way easier than trying to do it yourself. Or trying to like micromanage everything.
You cannot, man. And there is this balance, I think, in business is either control or growth. You cannot have both at the same time. You can have both at a steady level, but not really at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is fine if you want to lose a little bit of control, do more delegating, and find the right people and to grow your company. Another Mark Cuban thing I like is. The fact that he says, basically, if you find out your own if you find out how to kick your ass in your company, you would actually learn before your competitors how to do it. And I think this is also another way where you can actually find leaks in your system.
Yeah.
And like fix these leaks before anybody can. I think he's really influential in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Who do you think you're most influential for you?
Definitely Mark Cuban, Damon John. I really like Shark Tank, so you can tell.
All right. Have you watched the English version? It's the original.
No, I think I watched. Is there a Canadian version?
There is a Canadian. It's called Dragon's Den, I think.
I watched that one too.
Yeah.
But not the English version. Yeah.
The English version is really serious. You know? it's not as loud as Shark Tank.
Yeah.
But it's very good. What do you think you can advise, for example, music entrepreneurs or people who think that they have a good idea, right, and they didn't start? What do you think you can advise?
So if you're looking for, you mean like
let's say somebody's watching this and they thought about that YouTube thing, for example, right, or something similar, and they're ignoring it, or it's not going to work, or something like this. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, going back to the sort of overarching theme of this episode is start before you're ready. It's something I say all the time. Basically, think about it this way: like, we could have sat down with Nail the Mix and we could have been like, all right, well, we're going to have like these $10,000 cameras, and then we're going to have like the most expert audio setup ever, or we could just use some GoPros and some cheap microphones and a mixer from Music's friend
and make it happen.
Yeah, and the show was more important than the tech that went behind the show.
Exactly, the values.
The value, whatever you are getting from the stuff that we were saying on the show, is the actual. That's what the product is like what you're learning from what we're saying. So for anyone out there who is overthinking this stuff, just get going. Like, maybe you won't have like maybe you're trying to create the next SoundCloud, or maybe you're trying to like sell beats online. Just find the easiest, I call it and a lot of people call it the MVP, the minimum viable product. Just find the easiest way to get going and start doing it. And what's going to happen is every single day you're going to wake up and go, how do I do this better? How do I do this better?
Exactly, yeah.
And when you start doing it, you'll be like, oh, this could be better because I could get the download to the customer faster. And then you figure out a way to do that, and then you do it. And then now the downloads are coming to the customers faster. But then the customer is like, well, what about this? What about that? And then you're like, oh, I could make that. I could supply that. And all of a sudden, the ball starts rolling, and you start figuring out all the different things. Yeah. So you're never going to be able to sit down and mastermind
the whole plan,
a perfect company.
8 years from now to the IPO, let me just tell you what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
It's impossible. So you really do just need to get started. And whatever it is that you like to do, start doing it and start finding as many ways to do it for other people as possible. Because that's the second thing in business, is that you're never going to create the perfect business, but the most fundamental thing of a business is providing value to others or solving problems. So if your business isn't rooted in one of those two things, then you're going to find it very hard. Now, look at something like Instagram. It's a very interesting solution to a problem because it doesn't necessarily solve a specific problem.
It solves that kind of nuance.
Yeah, it's more like I want to entertain people.
Yeah.
So that's different than being like, I want to make beats for people, or I want to be a producer that helps people get their music like sounding better, or so whatever it is, like try to narrow down on what is the actual problem you're solving. Like, you could look at any of my businesses and you could be like, well, Joey's, the problem he's solving is he's making people's mixes sound better. Yeah, that's a byproduct, but that's not the actual problem I'm solving. The problem I'm solving is getting people closer to their creativity through software. They're using my software to be like, because it saves them time. It saves them having to understand how a compressor works. It saves them needing to know what an 1176 does. And so they don't need to know any of those things, and they can create music. So they get to they get past that creative barrier much faster, and the path to excellence, or the path to creation, is so much shorter for the. It's more.
This is the tools get to work. You know what I mean, more than this is the tools, and now spend like a month figuring out what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is just you provide them with the tools, and now get going.
You've got everything you need. So now, what music are you gonna make?
That's it.
That's it.
When when you said most of the stuff that you've done, you bootstrap it.
Yeah.
Bootstrap. The thing is, I think a lot of the people are gonna have this on their mind, is that okay? got the idea, we got the initial product. Okay,
How
how are we gonna fund it? That's the thing. Now they might say, well, Joey's saying it because he also he done gold records and stuff, so I can bootstrap company, right? But I'm a student, you know, I'm barely paying my student loan back or whatever, something like this, you know. What do you think they're gonna do? I mean, do you think maxing credit cards? Do you think taking a loan? Do you think investment? Do you think maybe find maybe a developer, give them equity? I mean, because that's what you got to do.
Sure. I mean, there's all kinds of strategies, you know, but one of the biggest things I would say is just do something. It doesn't have to be exactly what you want to do to get the money to do what you want to do. So for me, I was mixing records and keeping a little bit of money on the side.
Okay.
To the point where, you know, I'd saved up not hundreds of thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars in my savings account, so that when I'm like, hey, I want to make a plugin, I'm going to throw 10 grand to this developer and we're going to make it. You know, I saved money from the records I was making to be able to fund that. So your funding isn't going to always come from your passion.
Exactly.
It might come from something you're not super passionate about. It might come from mowing lawns. It might come from working a
retail, whatever.
Working a retail job. But what I don't like the idea of taking on investing debt and getting, you know, splitting equity and stuff like that. I actually say, you know, in today's world, you really don't have to do that. You really don't, I don't think. I think you can, there's some way to get the money out there, whether it's mixing for people on YouTube or doing a couple songs for a couple $100 just to get your idea off the ground. There's always something out there.
Okay, all right. And so again, no maxing credit cards, no investment, none of that
It's
stuff.
really not smart, especially at a young age. You know, taking on all kinds of debt, it's hard to get out of. You know?
I think this also means that, you know, you said you saved up money. This also means that if you don't have the idea right now, whatever, like maybe they're watching and they well, I don't have an idea right now, so I'm gonna spend the money. I think no, save up, because you never know when's gonna be the moment to be like,
when the opportunity strikes.
Is I can do this, but I don't have money. I've just spent it traveling and all of that stuff. So you know, this was very, very productive, very influential. Do you have any last thing you would like to say?
I would just say, you know, we're very fortunate to be living in the time period that we're in right now, because I think anybody can really go after anything they want. And that's largely in part thanks to the internet. So if you're out there wondering what to do next, I mean, just get started, you know, get online, start networking in different communities, things like that. And put one foot forward and then take one more step and then one more step, and sooner or later you'll be looking back and going, whoa, where did I go from?
Document while you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Document it. All right. This has been very fruitful, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Thank you.